Hi, Andre from Peak Motorcycles here. This is another video about my CRF300L Rally. In this one I'm going to be replacing the stock bars with some Renthal fat bars. I went for the 604 shape. If you look on the Renthal website there's a wide variety of bends and shapes you can go for, and those ones seem to be the ones that will be the best fit for me. In addition to that, I've got some conversion risers made by SW-Motech. So these will fit into the 22mm fittings on the bike and also have a 28mm fitting on the top for the new fat bar. So I need to take everything off, replace the bar with the new one, install the risers, then put everything back on again. Most of it should be fairly straightforward because it's just a bolt off and a bolt back on again. There's a few things that I'm a little bit concerned about. One is the length of the cables and whether there's enough wiring to actually go as much as 50mm or even 60. The other thing is getting the left side grip off. I think it's been glued on, so I'll see if I can get that off without damaging it. So hopefully you can see in here okay. So the ones I'm particularly concerned about is this one, which is the wiring that goes up to the left side controls. So there really isn't a lot of play in there at the moment. Also for the clutch cable, I think there's a little bit in that. It looks like it will come up a little bit, and just because of where the clutch connector is, I think there's a bit of space there. On the other side, again, I think there's a little bit of play for the throttle cables. Those seem to be okay. However, the brake line does seem to be very tight. It goes through this little plastic catch here and then runs down, but there really is not a lot in there. Now, actually just with lifting it up, because it's going to go on a diagonal, maybe there's enough space, but we'll have to wait and see. The other thing I'm very conscious of is making sure I've still got enough clearance when I twist the bars left and right. So to go that way, there isn't really anything other than that throttle cable, which is actually looking pretty tight. But again, I think there is a little bit of play in that. The brake is fine because it actually routes the other side. If I turn the bars back, with the bars turned all the way that way, you can see that all these need to run round are actually fairly tight. But I think there is actually a little bit of space for all of those. So I'll get the old bars off, I'll put the new bar on, and we'll see just how far we can go. So I'm going to start off with 50mm, which is about 2 inches. And then I can go another 10mm by putting the insert into the risers if need be. I know there's various ways to get this off with compressed air, but I'm just going to try using a bit of lubricant, push down inside there. Let's see if that works loose. And there we go. That's the top half done. Now just the bottom half. There we go. So hopefully you can see that did actually just slip right off using a bit of GT85. There was some glue on there, managed to prise it off, got it off whole, so that's kind of a relief. I'll clean that up. I'm just going to use some mild detergent, some washing up liquid, a bit of warm water to clean that out so it doesn't loosen up when it goes onto the new bar. Okay, so a couple of things I've noticed. So I know that on the 250 from some of the other videos, there's actually a pin within these that help to grip the handlebar. On here, it's not a pin, it's actually a plate with a raised section just in there. There's one on the other side as well, so I think it's not as easy to pull out as the pin, so I think I'm actually just going to unscrew this little plate on both sides and just get an angle grinder and just grind that back so that it's smooth so it doesn't damage the new bars. I know that some people have also drilled bars in order to make it fit properly, but to be honest, the chance of getting it in the perfect place, and I don't want to have to drill more than once, so I'm actually just going to remove it all together and just use the clamping on the bar to keep it in place. So the last thing to do is to undo the 4 main bolts, take the bar out, and then I can slide the throttle grip off. I know I could just remove the cables from the throttle tube itself, but as it is, I think I can leave them attached. There we go, that is the older bar off. It does actually feel pretty heavy. I might just quickly go and weigh this and compare it to the weight of the new bar. Back in a moment. Okay, so somebody always wants to know about the weight. So this is the stock bars that come on the CRF300L, and they weigh 1.1 kilos. Now if I add to that the bar end weights as well, which I guess I won't be putting back on once I've got my new hand guards, and we're looking at a total of basically 1.3 kilos. So 1.3 kilos for the stock bars with the bar end weights and their bolts. By comparison, the Renthal bar, and this is the 610 Fatbar. Weighs 600 grams, and the bar pad is 730, so that's already half a kilo saved just on the bar. Now I'm going to put the risers on as well. Okay, so with all the riser components, it's getting close. So there you go, the weight of the new Renthal bar with the pad and all the bits, and this is the bolts in the heaviest bolt configuration there would be. So I've taken out the two, which are the ones if you have it on the lower setting, so it's only 50mm. So that's basically, so it's still 50 grams lighter than what the stock setup was, and that is with the risers. So if I'm going to make it lower, I'm going to take out the two heavier ones, put the two lighter ones on instead, and I'm also going to remove the two 1 centimetre spacers. There we go, so that's probably what the weight's going to be in its standard configuration. So again, still slightly lighter than how it was before. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. That's the little bit that sticks out that grips the bar. So I'm just going to take this whole plate off, and I'm just going to take that into the other workshop and grind it off, and then I'm going to have to do the same on the other side as well. Yep, there we go. So the piece that just needs to come off is just this little raised bit just in there. So that's the bit that sticks into the hole in the old handlebar, but I want to have my controls movable just so I can get them in the right position, and I don't want to drill my bar multiple times, so I'm just going to go and grind that off. I'm going to take the other one out. I'm not going to do a video of that, but yeah, it's basically exactly the same. It's just holding it and removing it. Okay, so this is the one from the right hand, from the brake side controls. That's the little nubbin that I'm just going to grind off. That's one done. This one is just on the inside of the curved surface. Might be slightly harder to get smooth, but let's see. That's mostly off. I might actually just finish that off with a file. I know, one last go. Yep, that's pretty good. That's smooth. That one's smooth. I might just take a file to that. Okay, that's pretty good. Those two are pretty smooth, so I think that's ready to go back on again. Okay, so now I'm just going to put my cut down pieces back in. So there we go, so that's back on. I don't know if you can see, but there is a little rubber strip. So there is actually something to grip the bar other than that pin. I think if it turns out they are slipping, I guess I'll just put some piece of rubber in there, maybe even just paint over that where I've ground it off, but I'm going to do that later. Okay, so now I can start mounting the riser bars. Okay, so I found my first problem, and this is just with the 50mm, so the 2-inch rise, and that's actually that the brake line is too tight. Now, I can see it goes under that clip, but that's not holding it tight. But just behind here, there is actually a bolted bracket, and actually it looks like there is actually a little loop under here. So what I'm actually going to do is see if I can just loosen this nut off. I don't think I can get the camera in to see it, but if you believe me, there's a nut just behind here. Let's see if I can loosen that off. Okay, so let's loosen that off. I'm just going to see if I can pull the brake line through. Okay, so not sure if you can see that. That's the mounting that was holding the brake line. That white line there was the glue that it was on before. So I've moved it up about 1 centimetre. I'm going to bolt it back on, back under in here. But I'm going to have to move the camera out of the way so you won't see that. But yeah, I'm basically just going to make sure that having moved it up that centimetre, that it's not snagging at all, or that it's not pulling tight or doing anything it shouldn't. I mean, it looks like there is enough play in it, but you know, it's the brake, you can't be too careful. So let me assemble that back up. Okay, so that is now everything back together. Actually, it's not too bad. The brake line was the one that I thought was going to be a problem I've managed to move that up. I've not clipped the wires back onto the bars yet because I think for most of those they're only going to clip on once. But here and here you can see it's not going to come all the way back up, but actually it's not bad. I'm just going to do those up. I'm going to put the mirrors back on, make sure that they're still clear. If anything, I might rock the bars forward just a little bit as long as the mirrors are clear of the screen. It just feels that much more comfortable being up here instead of down here. So yeah, quite pleased with that, even if it has taken me a while. So there you have it. That's my Fatbar installation on some SW-Motech 50mm risers. I've not had to reroute any of the cables, or they were all long enough. The difference has been that previously it was actually attached to the bar from here and here, and now that's just hanging loose. Everything else, there's a bit of, it feels like there's a little bit of tension in the throttle cables, but again there is enough give, and actually when I move the bars it's not actually pulling any tighter. There's still plenty there. I don't know if you can just see in there. So that is there still. Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay. On this side, when it's full lock that way, there's a bit of pressure on this cable here. But again, there's just about enough slack, I think. And it's not pulling too much. And I think the brake is also fine. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So there you go, that's the end of my video. That is how to fit a Renthal 604 Fatbar and some SW-Motech 50mm risers to the CRF300L Rally. I did wonder if there was going to be enough cable run, but actually just removing the tie wraps that were off around the handlebars has freed up the electrical cables enough, and there's certainly enough play in the throttle cable and the brakes and the clutch. So yeah, I think that's all good. I'll take it for a ride tomorrow, just taking it easy just to see how that goes. But yeah, I think that's all set. So thanks for watching. If you found this interesting and useful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.